How's everyone doing? How's everyone doing? We rocking out? Was some we rocking out? We rocking out? Takes a little time. We're gonna start. We're gonna start in a couple of minutes, guys. Want to give everybody a chance to get acclimated. You know what I'm saying? Give everybody a chance to get acclimated. Give me 1 second here. So what we're gonna be discussing, guys, is the Flipper Zero. If you can hear me in the chat, drop a 1 in the comment section. If you can hear me in the chat, drop a 1 in the comment section. Yeah. Know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? All right, guys. So uh, let's begin. My apologies for a little bit of the delays, but we're gonna get into it, right? You know, we cooling, we cooling. All right. So this topic performs very well on my channel when I talk about Flipper Zero and you know the attacks of it, etc., things of that nature. So one of the top performing videos on my channel is the top 10 ways to use the Flipper Zero. So I wanted to kind of talk about it in live stream form so that we can have that conversation together. If you have any questions, comments, or things that you would like me to explain, please drop your comment uh, in the comment section, and then I'll do my best to address that. So now let's start with the genesis of it, the genesis of the Flipper Zero. So think of but not. Okay, so I'm gonna say something, but think of but not. The Flipper Zero is kind of like a Swiss Army knife hacking device, right? It can do multiple things, and it can serve for various functions. As far as cyber attacks, as far as ethical hacking things, it serves for multiple functions. Now, the core function of the Flipper Zero is that it reads, it copies, and it emulates RFID and NFC tags, and remote. It also emulates, read, and copies radio remotes, iButton, and digital access keys. So this is a very Wi-Fi, Bluetooth centric kind of device. It deals with a lot of radio signals and copies them. So this is something that is really that's kind of like it's space, right? So it was started in 2020, and it raised 4.8 million in 2020. So it took the world by storm, and the user interface, they did their best to make it as simple as possible. They have, the pixel art dolphin, the virtual pet logo kind of thing that whose appearance and emotions change as you're using the device. Now, here's an overview. We talked about it, right? It's very small, like it can fit in your hand, it can fit in your palm, and it is about the size, even smaller than a smartphone, right? It's wee big. So it has an LCD screen and buttons to control. So there's, think of like a very, for the gamers out there, think of a very, how can I say this? Think of as simple of a Game Boy that you possibly can have. The simplicity of a Game Boy, but even fewer buttons and that kind of style screen. So the Flipper Zero, it can read, store, and emulate radio frequencies, right? Signals like the RFID and NFC. That is how it can copy, those radio frequency data cards and then unlock a door or get credit card information, things like that. And it has GPIO pins to connect to external hardware, and it can function as a USB converter for protocols like the UART, the SPI, and the I2C. It runs on free RTOS operating system and has a removable micro SD card for storage. Once you gather that information, it also can store that data of whatever you collected. So now that we talked about that, let's get, am I losing you guys? So the capabilities, or the basic capabilities of the Flipper Zero, is that it can, like we said, it can clone and read RFID cards, key fobs, and animal microchips operating at 125 kilohertz frequency. So it can capture and replay infrared remote control signals for TVs, air conditioners. Could you imagine you're able to change somebody's AC and make sure that they bill high? Like what kind of hacker would do that? Like what kind of hacker would do that? Yeah, I'm gonna make sure that your AC bill is high. I'm gonna hack your systems. Like those hackers are the most dangerous. So it also can read and emulate radio remotes like garage door openers in the sub-gigahertz range of 300 to 928 megahertz. Okay, so it also, and this is the dangerous part, because we live in a time of multi-factor authentication, right? Multi-factor authentication is that thing where you you log into your email or something like that, and then before you log in, you have to confirm that it is you via a code that gets sent to your phone, or maybe a text, things of that nature. That is multi-factor authentication. But when it comes to the Flipper Zero, it can generate two-factor authentication tokens and perform bad USB attacks by emulating a keyboard. Think about that. It can do that. So the cybersecurity landscape, and I feel like that is something that may be trending in that direction, is hackers being able to bypass multi-factor authentication. And as ethical hackers or people who are in the cybersecurity space, we're going to have to figure out ways to combat that. Because, man, if they're able to bypass multi-factor authentication, what is the next thing that we can do? It's a never-ending rat race, right? So the Flipper Zero, right? It is legal to have, even though Amazon doesn't have it on its website, right? And it is illegal in most regions. In some parts of the United States, not all of the United States as a whole, but some parts of the United States, it's legal, okay? But like many things, while it is legal, it's legal if you use it ethically. If it's in a controlled environment, if the party that you are doing the hacking to is consenting and understands and knows. If you are hacking an unknown party, if you are hacking something or someone without consent, then it becomes illegal. Okay? So it's very important that that is made clear. Some regions like Canada have completely outright moved to ban it due to its potential misuse for vehicle theft. They said I don't even know how to say French. Le oui ban de flipper zero. Le oui ban de flipper zero. No more. No more. I know my Canadian accent is terrible. Okay, get my Canadian French. What they do in Quebec, Canada, or Drake, or who else? Whatever. They said Le Flipper Zero is banned. We've banned the Flipper Zero, and it came with some uprising. So some of the legal uses for the Flipper Zero device, because there are illegal aspects, but there are also legal aspects. You have you can read and control your own home automation, right? Like smart plugs, garage door openers, and wireless doorbells. So, if you're one of those cheapskates that you don't want to, keep, if you lose your garage and it's too much, hey, buy a Flipper Zero and it can mimic your garage door, But again, your garage door, because if you use it on somebody else's garage door and it's, especially if it's not consensual, then you're a hacker and jail time is waiting for you, okay? I'm not endorsing no robbers, guys. I'm not endorsing no robbers. I'm not endorsing no robbers, guys. So, it also, again, when it comes to home automation and using the Flipper Zero, there is the aspect of learning infrared remote control codes to control your own TVs and ACs, right? If you got those parents out there, right? You got those parents out there, and they keep blaming you, so you can hack it, be in your room, and you can say, man, it's kind of hot. Let me, and they won't be able to blame you. They won't be able to blame you. Oh, we saw you. I want to keep the AC down. Okay, I want to keep the AC off because the bill is too high. You can hack these systems and do it. So, the next aspect of the Flipper Zero is access control. With permission, you can read and clone RFID access cards or key fob buildings you have authorized access to, right? This can be hotel rooms that you have access to, not other people's, right? Your hotel rooms. And then you can capture and analyze radio signals as a learning exercise. So the next thing that we're going to discuss is, so let me talk about digital forensics and then pet microchips, and then we're going to get into the other things. So when it comes to digital forensics, reading and analyzing RFID/NFT tags, as part of digital forensics evidence with the proper authority. That's another use case ethically for the Flipper Zero. And then pet microchips with permission from the owner, even if you're the owner, right? Reading pet microchip data can help identify lost pets. Now, the Flipper Zero, there are several kinds of firmware, right? And this is basically, I don't want to say operating system, but what is another word of operating system? Basically, these are kind of like operating system kind of modules. Like each operating system has a different and unique ability, right? They're not all the same. Each firmware is unique in its own abilities. So there is the official firmware. I'm going to break down the firmwares. There's the official firmware, and that is the stock firmware provided by Flipper devices, and it has region locked a sub gigahertz transmission due to legal limitations. They ain't trying to put themselves in a position to be sued. You kidding me? So this firmware cannot save or send rolling codes in sub gigahertz, and it only shows them in captured list. There's also the factory set device name that cannot be changed. So obviously, the official firmware, there's not much you can do with it. We know that, right? Because they're not trying to, they ain't trying to do all that. Then we have, that was the official, right? Then we have the unleashed. And the unleashed removes some gigahertz regional transmission restrictions, right? These are things that you're going to have to add. Think of it like, I don't want to say jailbreaking, but you're going to have to do some extracurricular activities to put these things on, right? So you have the Unleashed firmware, and it adds extra sub-gigahertz frequencies in MyFair Classic keys. You can also capture and send dynamic encrypted protocol / rolling codes. It comes with extra custom apps from the community. Now, the Unleashed, it can be used for hacking, but it is more fun, kind of. Like, if you want to just play with it, then you probably might want to use the Unleashed firmware. But there are different firmwares that is on that time of hacking, right? You have the Rogue Master, and that is the firmware for regional Texas restriction removed. It has sub-gigahertz protocol changes copied from Unleashed, right? And then it's like used for experimental games only, and the DUMB mode, not dumb, okay? DUMB mode, look it up. So it is mostly known in community plugins and games that have been added. Next, we have the Extreme, and that is the official fork with cleaned up code base, more module extensions, and custom assets. The Momentum firmware is feature-rich, stable, and customizable Flipper firmware, which is a direct continuation of the Extreme firmware. Then you have the Dex V, and that is the Extreme fork, described as the Will It Blend custom firmwares. Now, just like operating systems, just like firmware is not related to the Flipper Zero, things get outdated or unmaintained because, again, remember, they don't want anything to do with these other firmwares, so they're not going to really give regular updates unless it's their own, right? So there were some outdated and unmaintained firmwares. You have the Squawk Wire, the WeTalks, the Muddled Forks, the Open Haystack BLE mode, and the V1NC Flipper Zero firmware. So I believe that you're going to have to obviously go online to see how to update the firmware that you're actually using. So the hackers, right? Here are some of the ways that they can use the Flipper Zero, right? There are several ways to breach systems using, breach systems and gain unauthorized access using the Flipper Zero. So again, why do I keep talking about it? Because this is one of the prime ways it is used. And once used effectively, it can be very dangerous for a hacker to use it. And that is reading and cloning wireless signals, right? The Flipper Zero can read and store various wireless signals, the RFID and the NFC. That's your card, right? That's your card. Remember, you know that Apple Pay you do where you go ding and it just ding and it pays? Yeah, those kinds of systems of payment to where you just touch or whatever, that is that RFID NFC kind of wave, right? So if a Flipper Zero can copy that signal, guess what it can do? It's basically acting as whatever that was. You see how dangerous it is? See how, imagine, so it can then clone and then replay these signals to gain access or control over the target systems. The next thing that the Flipper Zero can do is bypassing access control systems. So the device can read and clone proximity cards, key fobs, and other access control credentials that use RFID, NFC, iButton technologies. So bypassing, right? Because it can read and clone, and then it can be used to bypass. And then it can be used to intercept, right? It can be used to intercept and replay radio signals. The sub 1 gigahertz transceiver in the Flipper Zero can intercept and record radio signals from remote keyless systems used in many modern vehicles. Hackers can then replay the signals to unlock and start certain vehicles without the original key fob. No, we're not talking about your 1930s Honda Civic, okay? I don't want anyone with a calculator as a car engine to go, what? They can hack me? No, we're not talking about you. This is more modernized. So controlling IoT and other wireless devices is another functionality that hackers can use for the Flipper Zero. And that is, with its ability to read, store, and transmit various wireless signals, the Flipper Zero can potentially, control or disrupt Internet of Things devices, smart home systems, and other wireless-enabled gadgets. The next thing is hardware hacking and firmware manipulation. That's in the sense of the Flipper Zero has GPIO pins, SPI flash programmer, and other hardware hacking tools that allow interfacing and manipulating embedded systems and firmware. Okay, this can enable hackers to extract data, bypass security measures, or introduce malicious code into the target hardware. So the Flipper Zero can also be used as a penetration tester tool. It's primed for it, right? It's a very prime thing. It can be used as a penetration testing tool, an educational tool, because again, if this thing ends up in the wrong hands, what do you guys have in your garage that a hacker would want? That old 1940 laptop. You think a hacker wants that? There's also proper security measures like using encrypted communication protocols, rolling codes, and limiting wireless attack services. Are crucial in the mitigation of the potential threats posed by devices like the Flipper Zero. Okay, so when it comes to, we're gonna go to the next slide here. Now, the Flipper Zero has various module types, right? It has the GPIO models, that connects the Flipper Zero's GPIO pins, allowing it to interact with external hardware, flash firmware, debug, and fuzz protocols, which include the USB to UART, the SPI, and the I2C converter, the SPI flash programmer, the AVR ISP programmer, the Open DAP, and the fuzzing tool. Then you have the sub 1 gigahertz radio modules that enable the Flipper Zero to communicate with a wide range of wireless devices like the garage door remotes, IoT sensors, the boom barriers, and remote keyless systems. The official 433 megahertz and 900 megahertz external radio modules fall into this category. You have the infrared modules, and that is like the IR, or infrared, blaster that allows the Flipper Zero to transmit infrared signals to control devices. It also has a built-in infrared transceiver to learn and replay RR codes. The specialty modules, there is the Wi-Fi development board. That's an attachment. That's when you hack in Wi-Fi's and doing hopefully ethical things. You have the ESP32 module. You have the Air Mouse module. You have the MAGS spoof module for the MAGS stripe emulation. You have the RS232 module, and then you have the Hot Swap module. And then there's the video game module, right, which adds the HDMI output to mirror the Flipper Zero's screen or a TV, right? The gyroscope sensor for the motion control games. So it also provides a standalone development platform based on the Raspberry Pi RP2040 microcontroller. Okay, so there is some game items that relate to it. So the Flipper Zero, when it comes to hacking, is growing. A Flipper Zero can be used to do more and more things. A Flipper Zero can be used to do more and more things. But some of the common ways that hackers use the Flipper Zero is the sub-gigahertz replay attacks. So now I'm going to break down the sub-gigahertz replay attacks. So the Flipper Zero can capture and replay signals from devices like garage door openers, car keys, and other wireless remotes that use the sub 1 gigahertz frequencies. This allows for cloning and replaying the signals to gain unauthorized access. So anything that is sub 1 gigahertz, and That's what's reported, right? We know that hackers can really jailbreak things and elevate and find ways to make things even stronger, right? But as of this video, I'm winking, right? I'm winking. As of this video, anything that is sub gigahertz 1 uh, frequency is fair game for this. Anything that's sub gigahertz 1 is fair game. Okay? So I don't want y'all to be coming after me, right? The next thing is the bad USB attacks, right? So let's put the sub gigahertz to the side. Next, we have the bad USB attacks, and we all know the bad USB is a separate device that, when you combine it with the Flipper Zero, it takes the Flipper Zero's abilities to a whole nother level, So by emulating a keyboard, Flipper Zero can perform bad USB attacks when plugged into a computer, right? And what this is basically is it can inject malicious payloads and commands as if they were typed by a human user. How about them apples, right? Do you have any questions? Oh, hold on, guys. Hold on. Hold on, guys. Hold on. We still here. We still rocking. We still here. We are still rocking. Don't even worry about that. So the bad USB is an attack that exploits an inherent vulnerability in USB firmware. Such an attack reprograms a USB device, causing it to act as a human interface. Once re-engineered, the USB device is used to discreetly execute commands or run malicious programs on the victim's computer. We good, guys. We back online. We back online, guys. We good. We good. Then we have the RFID and NFC attacks. The Flipper Zero can read, write, and emulate RFID and NFC cards and tags, which allows cloning access cards, fuzzing RFID systems, and exploiting insecure access control systems. There is also the Bluetooth low energy, also known as BLE attacks, and the Flipper Zero can spam BLE devices with connection requests, causing crashes and freezes on some phones. It can also be used to discover and connect to nearby BLE devices. The hardware hacking and debugging, the GPIO pins on the Flipper Zero allow connecting to various hardware for flashing firmware, debugging, and fuzzing protocols. It can be used as a USB to UART, SPI, and I2C adapter. So now, now I'm going to pivot because now that I gave you guys what you wanted as far as the Flipper Zero, let's get into some of the cyber attack news of the week, right? That's what I'm going to be doing on the back end of the show. Let's talk about some things that's going on in the cybersecurity space so that we know what's going on. We know what's going on, right? And if there's any news, cybersecurity news that you want to talk about, let's get into it. Let's get into it. So I'm gonna give you guys a chance to, if there's something that you want to talk about, you can let me know and we could talk about it. Nobody has anything? All right, so let's talk about this, right? So there's a story here, and it is called bug bounty programs, right? So, so to give you an overview of what a bug bounty program is, it is basically, think of it like a company, an entity, a club, whatever you want to call it. They basically have like different programs out there, and if you can exploit them, if you can hack into them, then they give you money for it or prizes. So the prizes can range up to hundreds of thousands of dollars to millions of dollars, right? So it's basically like going on a website and just seeing list of items that you can hack, and if you're able to successfully hack them, then you are, they give you a prize. Hold on, we have Honest Locksmith, who says, I think the flippers I2C Spy and UART are underutilized. I'm inclined to agree with you, Honest Locksmith. In what way do you think that they are underutilized? Let me know in what ways do you think the flippers I2C, the SPI, and UART are underutilized? So while he's getting me into that, so like I said, the bug bounty programs is basically you can go online and you can see a list of bug bounties that are out there that that hackers can exploit and get money from. So there is a bug bounty program, basically a hacking contest in China's cyber off. What they got in China that they doing, man? What they got in China that they doing? That they want to do bug bounty contest. And remember, I released a video earlier today that said if China and USA has gone to war, who wins? And just as a something to keep in mind, guys, is I look at things from a cybersecurity perspective, because cybersecurity may be the number one way that war gets carried out nowadays. Yes, you have the guns. Yes, you have physical and all of that. Oh, Honest Locksmith said, before I get into that, Honest Locksmith said, automotive hacking, fobs, and the vehicles, right? Nobody opens them up. They press the button, record a signal, but never open the fob and connect by I2C. That is a great point, Honest Locksmith. That is a really good point. And then Honest Locksmith talked about he's talking about the BMW dump the EEPROM and add a key. Hold on, add a key, comma rewrite. That is an interesting take. That is a very interesting take. And one of the reasons why I'm doing these lives, guys, is to let you know this is a live for you. Let's get the conversation started. He also says every chip is programmed by their protocol, by these protocols. So do you think what are the cars you think are prime to be hacked using your technique? What brands? Because you said BMW. Are there any other brands? While Honest Locksmith gets back to us, so they have these bug bounty guys, and Honest Locksmith said every chip is programmed by these protocols. So Chinese cybersecurity experts, right, over the past decade have evolved, from hesitant participants in global capture the flag competitions. Those are little petty capture the flag competition. They're not really on that. The Chinese government is applying money, spoils, to stronger cyber offensive capabilities for the nation, right? Stronger cyber offensive capabilities for the nation. Now, look, why do they want stronger cyber offensive capabilities for the nation? Huh? So, uh, civilian hackers, right, in China have directly benefited China's cyber offensive programs and are one example of success of China's cybersecurity pipeline, which the government created through its requirement that all vulnerabilities be directly reported to the government authorities. Uh, so I don't know, guys. I don't know. There was a open source intelligent report. Hold on. So Honest Locksmith says, this is how I do it professionally. The BMW, Benz, and Toyota by EEPROM. All fob renewals by I2C. And he programs the universal fobs by SPI. So I'm starting to see a trend with a lot of foreign vehicles, guys. A lot of foreign vehicles seem to be susceptible to these kinds of attacks. Now, so that we are not discriminatory, Honest Locksmith. What are some American cars over there, huh? You ever experiment on some American cars? We don't want to be we don't want to be discriminatory. So going back to the story until Honest Locksmith talks about some American cars, there was an open intelligence report that says the United States, Australia, Japan, South Korea, and other huge nations in the Asia Pacific region have struggled to improve cyber defenses against what is called the Chinese Advanced Persistent Threat, also known as APT. That's basically a hacking group, right? That's like a hacking gang. So they have been struggling against those Chinese hacking gangs. So earlier this year, high-profile U.S. government officials warned that China was compromising critical infrastructure to pre-position its military hackers for future conflicts. So China, and it was just hold on. We have a comment. Honest Locksmith, he says, not too much with data dump for American because American cars are required by law to be programmed through OBD. So that's a win for Americans. That's a win. Honest Locksmith said that's a win for Americans. Yeah. That's a win for Americans, guys. What y'all think? That's a win. Show them your muscles. Drop a one in the chat if you feeling it, huh? So, it seems like China is positioning itself for something because now they're investing in bug bounty programs and they want to do this and that and Chinese hacking gangs and this and that. So what do you think that they're trying to do? So one of the things that they're trying to do is a robust cyber pipeline, right? That is basically starting with university capture the flag competitions. And that's basically, if you ever played a game, capture the flag is like, hacking and getting the opposing team's flag virtually, right? So it's not really that complicated to understand. China's pipeline for training civilian hackers highlights the benefits of the country's focus on practical cybersecurity, right? China's cyber offensive capability has also significantly benefited the enforcement of its vulnerability disclosure rule and the regulations of the management of security vulnerabilities in network products. So, who do you think would win in a cyber war versus America and China? I got America all day. I got America all day, guys. I got America all day. Red, white, and blue. Red, white, and blue. Red, white, and blue. So in later news, there is the T-Mobile was, it's denying that it was hacked. It's saying that the leaked data was to a vendor breach. So T-Mobile has denied it was breached, or the source code was stolen after a threat actor. Threat actor is basically a hacker. Claimed to be selling stolen data from the telecommunications company. So we have a statement, and the statement reads, guys, it says, T-Mobile systems have not been compromised. We are actively investigating a claim of the issue at a third-party service provider. And that is what T-Mobile shared, right? They also said, we have no indication that T-Mobile customer data or source code was included, and can confirm that the bad actors, which is the hackers, claim that T-Mobile's infrastructure was accessed is false. So it's basically like a whistleblower. So if you have T-Mobile, I'm going to need y'all to call T-Mobile and say, hey, yo, big dog. Y'all sure anybody hacking our things, you know what I'm saying? Y'all sure nobody hacking our things, you know what I'm saying? In other news, there's, fake Google Chrome errors that trick you into running, hacking software. So be careful, Chrome users, right? There's fake Google Chrome errors that trick you into running malicious PowerShell scripts. Right? So it's basically a new malware distribution campaign on Google Chrome, Word, and OneDrive to trick users into running the PowerShell fixes that install malware. Right? So the new campaign was observed being used by multiple threat actors, including those behind the ClearFake, a new attack cluster called ClickFix, and the TA571, a threat actor known for operating as spam distributor that sends large volumes of email, leading to malware and ransomware injections. There is the previous ClearFake attacks utilize website overlays that prompts visitors to install fake browser update that installs malware. And we don't want to do that, guys. So just make sure of what you're clicking. Make sure that you're not clicking things that are, kind of over the top, so that you don't have malware installed in your computer. And this story came out today. This story came out today, guys. Does anyone in the comment section use Outlook? Please let me know. Anybody wants an AI news? All right, guys, I'll close the live out on this story. This is an AI story. And I want to thank Honest Locksmith. And everybody who joined the live tonight. So I will end the live on this story. So Meta AI removes block on election-related queries in India while Google is still applying limits. So we do know that this is election year, right? This is election year, and there's a whole bunch of things going on. And AI, I think, is going to be used in good ways and bad ways for the election, right? So there's a story that says Meta AI removes block on election-related queries in India while Google still applies limits. So here is Meta's approach. And the reason why it is important to understand what other countries are doing is to see if there are similar things being done in this country, right? A sample size. So here's Meta's approach. Meta's restrictions lift means that you can search for queries related to India's election results, information on politicians, and details about office holders, okay? The company first started blocking certain political queries when the election in India commenced in April. And at the time, Meta AI was pointing people toward the Election Commission's website when you asked about politicians, candidates, office holders, and information on political parties. Do you think that there's similar things happening like that in America? So we have a statement, and it reads, this is a new technology, and it may not always return the response we intend, which is the same for all generative AI systems since it was launched, right? We've constantly released updates and improvements to our models, which is what an AI company spokesperson said. They're constantly updating what they're doing here. Now, Google's approach, because Google still has they foot on their neck, right? They ain't trying to, you know what I'm saying? So Google says it launched the Gemini app for Android in India on, this past Monday, which supports 9 local languages. However, the company is not removing restrictions on election-related queries as a part of global policy. The company confirmed that it's still applying these limits. Now, here is what they're saying. With major elections happening around the world this year, and out of abundance of caution, this is what Google is saying, we're restricting the types of election-related queries for which Gemini will return responses and instead point people into Google search. They're basically saying this is because of global things. Global things. Global things. So AI, man. AI is one of those things, man. I tell you. AI is one of those things. So, guys, it was a pleasure, talking things with you guys. So, I like that model. I'm going to squeeze in some security stories, AI stories, whatever I can into these lives, so we can talk about it and I can keep you informed on them. Every Wednesday night, guys, from 9 to 10 p.m., I'm going to be doing these things with you, so that we can learn and get better and have fun. So thank you for participating on this live. I appreciate your viewership. Please watch the videos that I dropped today so that we can get the conversation started and you can learn. And see you on the next video.